everybody, it's Gary Vaynerchuk, and this is one of my favorite formats of the content I do. This is Pod Sessions, episode number 10. This one's fun. On a dinner that was done in, was that DC?
August. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In DC in August, two of the three wonderful individuals were here. We were kind of shooting the shit. I was getting to know one a little bit better, one completely. It was a format of a conference series I was doing around the country where I was speaking, and then there was a dinner series at night, and they were there. We were jamming, and just kind of like popped in my head, and we were talking about our third individual. I said, you know what? Why don't we just all get together and do a pod sessions? Because I remember thinking, wow, a lot of this conversation and a lot of what I thought the third individual could bring to the conversation would make tremendous content for the things that I care about, whether it's marketing or actually building an actual business or practicality or siphoning from a career to an entrepreneur, just a lot of themes. So I'm super excited about this. I've got a good sense of where I want to take it. Unlike, this one's a little more under the radar pod sessions, meaning, we've been bringing people with huge audience and things of that nature. Just a little bit more of, individuals that I admire pieces of. And I thought if we put it all together, we could really make a nice meal. So I'm excited. Why don't we go around and introduce ourselves? And why don't we start to the left and go into a kind of circle mode here. So how are you, young man? Good. Tell the Vayner Nation who you are.
So my name's Dylan Leazier. I'm from Hagerstown, Maryland, small town in Maryland. Most of you probably never heard of it before. Just recently moved to New York. And
they've heard of that.
Yeah, they have. And working for one of your good friends, Eitan Sugarman, managing socials for the Hunt and Fish Club and for Southern Hospitality.
And that's because your background is also in a little bit of that world, right?
Yeah, so for like the past 2 years up until I moved to New York, I was rebranding and renovating my father's restaurant and bar back home in Maryland. And ended up at that dinner with you, and then things transpired, and just kind of took a leap of faith and was like, I'm gonna move to New York and take this step. So
love it. Let's keep going.
Everybody, Rabiah Sutton. What else am I saying? I know I forgot that fast. I'm originally from DC. Moved to Northern Virginia when I was 10, and own a business called Forward Think, selling technology services and products to the government primarily.
How long have you been doing that?
I've had my own company for 8 years, but I've been in the field for over 20.
Yep.
And
how are you?
I'm great. Happy to be here.
Sir?
Steve Sheetz from Altoona, Pennsylvania. Chairman now of the Sheetz Family Council. I've been like bottle boy and dishwasher and helped build this business from one store to 586 stores through the years. So.
And for the people that live in different parts of the world, what are the stores?
Good question. Yes, like you've probably never seen one. So
I haven't.
So it's a convenience store. We started out as a dairy store, and then as times changed and people's demands for food changed, and then we had to add gasoline in the 70s when the blue laws went away. We loved the blue laws at Sheetz because everybody was closed Sundays except us. So everybody came to Sheetz. So it was a dairy store with a big deli, and then now we've really.
And why were you able to the blue laws? Because I know them because of the liquor industry. Why was Sheetz able to be open because of the gasoline?
Well, because we had less than 15 employees at the time per store. In other words,
was that the essence of the blue laws?
Yeah, the essence of the blue laws were different in different states.
Yeah,
but I think in Pennsylvania it was you had to have like less than 10 or 15 employees. So there were no supermarkets, no Walmarts. It was all us. So a Sunday was like 5-10 times normal day because we were the only thing open. We loved it. And then
did you have liquor license too?
We don't.
That's right. Pennsylvania State controlled.
Well, right now we just hit 100 stores with beer. We've been fighting it since I came out of college, 1969. We had 3 stores, and we pushed for beer, and we pushed for self-serve gas. We got self-serve gas.
Wait a minute. This is a very important part of the story.
Yep.
You graduated college, you said, or high school?
Penn State, 1969.
Right, and that So you graduated college the year the New York Jets won the Super Bowl.
There you go.
January 12th that year, the New York Jets changed the football landscape forever. I love that. So,
Joe Namath, yeah.
Joe Namath. So some of my favorite Jets of all time are Penn State alums. Lance Mel, one of my favorites. Anyway, nonetheless, so got it. And so your parents started it?
No, Yeah, it's a long story, but we came out of the dairy business, my grandfather, back in 1907. My father then saw the whole business changing. He opened one store and then 5 stores during World War II. Then my brother came along, took over one. So in 1960, I went to work with him. We had one store.
With your brother?
Yeah. And then he said, I went to school actually to be a math teacher.
You did?
Yeah. He said, come with me. We're going to open 10 stores. And so I went with him.
That's awesome.
We opened 10, and he said, let's open 100. And we opened 100, and he said, I'm going to Florida, and he left.
Is that what happened?
That was back in 1983, and he's still there. In. We still just send him the checks down there.
That's right. So you jumped in 83 to kind of...
Yeah. Well, I was really managing all, but I learned that year the difference, the next 5 years between a manager and a leader, which I really didn't know. But it was going to hit me hard.
That was a super interesting segue, right? So you're in this is something that I talk to a lot of kids about, transitioning from a doer to a manager, and then from a manager to being the last line of defense,
right? The
leader. You know, here a bunch of kids are listening, a bunch of people are listening, but I have so many young listeners as well. I'm listening, and I'm saying, you were in the business every day for 14 years, presumably as minimally the number 2, probably closer to the 1B. And that even though at that age, on that transition, going from either 2 or 1B to 1A, there was a 5-year learning curve in the way that you put it on making that transition from just that small of a jump perceived, but I know, and you know, is actually the biggest jump of them all.
That's correct. Yeah.
What was the biggest shocking thing from being, how would you consider yourself? Do you consider you were a 1B, or do you consider you were the 2? Just something out of curiosity. I'm sure it's just semantics.
Well, yeah, I would say 1B,
cool,
because I ran all of operations.
I would say so too. So what was the biggest shock in that transition?
Well, the biggest shock was that I thought I was a good manager.
Yeah.
Actually, a great manager.
Yeah.
Which meant that I took this cookie cutter that we had developed and opened the store. I knew how to hire people. I knew how to do the architecture even. I knew how to lay it out.
I mean, you
every day,
nailed
boom,
it. To
boom,
be able
boom.
to, that's right, to create that kind of factory, to open those kind of stores, people, locations, that's a system.
Right. But the world around me was changing. But as a manager, I just kept putting this cookie cutter out every day. But the world was changing, and I wasn't changing with it. You know, I was managing today's business, but wasn't thinking about where we were headed.
That's right.
Tomorrow. And we were in that, we had to find our way to make that transition. And by the end of that 5 years, I finally knew where the hell we were going.
And where was that?
We had to transition.
Do you remember?
Yeah, we had to go from a take-home store where people were making sandwiches, eating at home, to a store where people were eating on the run. It was a grab and go. But now we had 158 stores, and we had to make a transition. We had, when we did the new model.
For kids at home, you had to go from being more like a deli mentality to a 7-Eleven of today mentality.
Yeah, and with better food, hopefully. Yeah.
Yes, of course.
But absolutely. So, but
by the way, that's exactly right. Because you had the advantage of coming from a better food place.
But we had to talk with customers to find out where we were supposed to go, and employees, and then they told us. So now we developed this whole new model in 1988. Now we had one store that fit the vision of where we were headed.
Which store was that?
That was...
Do you remember?
Well, it was store 158. No, Lewistown.
I see what you did. You didn't renovate. You made the next one.
The next one. It had everything the customers told us they wanted.
And how did it do?
It did great, but now I had 157. I had to figure out what the hell I was going to do with those.
Which is hard.
And so we really slowed down expansion, but it meant we had to go back and reassess every store.
That's right.
Could they fit that new vision? Did
you sell off any stores? Because
we did. Yeah. Very good question.
Listen, I'm an operator.
We had 15 in Pittsburgh that did not fit where we were headed. Very difficult to manage. We had 11 restaurants that we had broken off into.
Wow.
We sold those, and we concentrated
you got focused.
on, here is the vision.
Impressive.
This is where we're headed. Now we've got to determine which stores we can rebuild, remodel, relocate, and that was where we were headed.
Good for you. And so let's piggyback off this theme that we're building on. You made the transition from doing what you do well, and you understood for companies, to then doing. So many people listening right now they like to say they're entrepreneurs, and they say that to me because they're trying to act cool because they think entrepreneurship is cool, and I'm always like, don't worry, being a great employee is a remarkable.
Absolutely.
Like, it's really funny. I'm far more associate myself with being self-aware than I do being an entrepreneur. Like, I would have been pumped to be the number 3 or number 17, or to make $47,000 a year and work 41 hours a week and have fun doing all the other things. I just want to be happy.
Right.
What I ended up being was an entrepreneur. So I'm fascinated by a lot of people who say they're entrepreneurs, and an entrepreneur talk falls into 2 things. People who are scared to make the leap into entrepreneurship for a million different reasons. Judgment, they're they like their lifestyle and they don't want to give up some of the luxuries for a year or 2. And then other people who are actually not anything close to an entrepreneur. It just makes them feel better being an employee. When did you know that? Tell me give me the whole narrative, because I think you represent something very important to my audience and the world, and it's why I like you, and I know you the most out of this table. We've interacted here and there different times. Thank you. What did you, from day one?
Yeah.
After you were managing a whole bunch of stuff and you're like, shit, I don't need anybody else. When the boss pissed you off, like, what was it?
So my parents were both business owners. My dad's a veterinarian. He had a clinic my whole life. Yep. My mom owned a children's bookstore, from the end of elementary school till high school.
Right. So you were in it.
So I knew, every weekend, every holiday, all summer. Yeah. We were
Easter
with them.
break.
We're like, why can't we go hang out with our damn friends? Nope, you're coming with us. So I went the trajectory of, I'm going to go to school. And I was a average student. I never really liked school. The only classes I took to were business classes in high school, which I got an A in, and everything else was like, if I get a C, I'm okay. And there wasn't a lot of structure at home in terms of like helping with homework and things like that. So we were kind of like, be self-motivated, and I was. So I always had a job. I was, babysitting, selling bracelets and stuff at the county fair and things like that. And then I went to school. I always worked, so retail, temporary work. And when I was a freshman in college, I got a job at a small government contracting firm and started answering phones part-time. And they liked my work. They were wowed that I managed to learn the switchboard in an hour when it was taking,
you're smart.
The older women days, right?
Look, I grew up in my dad's liquor store, similar kind of background.
Yep.
This company, to me, always, and I'm sure you remember this, there's no high for a manager or an owner that's greater than seeing somebody come in at the entry level and be smart.
Get it.
Because you start dreaming about their potential, right? You're happy for them. You're like, I just remember. I'm like, Shanika Williams. I remember at Wine Library. She was smart as shit. I just remember looking at her one day on the register. I'm like, she won't be there long, and that's fun. Right. So nonetheless, I understand that reaction from them.
So by sophomore year, I was working full time and taking all my classes at night. And by 21, I was making $40,000 without my degree yet. And
let's go.
And the money was good. And
this is not yesterday, so 40. I'm just trying to everybody listening.
I'm 41. So this is 20 years ago.
40 is 80, just to tell you. So keep going.
Right. And so I worked my ass off, but most of the companies I worked for, the culture was not where I needed it to be. It didn't match my potential. It didn't match the things I was looking for. And so I never really lasted anywhere more than 3 years. And the, predominant wisdom still now is oh no, you have to work somewhere for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, whatever.
Don't screw up your resume.
Yes. You can't be you can't be job hopping. And I'm like, no, I'm good. And then the other thing is people are scared because the grass is not going to be greener on the other side. And it's is it really green now?
You weren't scared though because you had grown up with it.
Yes.
Got it.
And I just have a very high
So was it from
tolerance.
the get? Did you back to my core question, do you think even at 20, even at 24 when you're oh wait a minute, this might be the industry I fuck with, I'm into it.
Yeah.
I'm going to have my own thing?
Definitely. But I felt like I needed some structure that these businesses were going to give me. And obviously in hindsight, I was like, no, you should have started this 10 years ago.
Right.
But it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah. And it gave me a good network.
And so when did you do it?
33.
So 8 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It'll be my 8-year anniversary on the 10th.
And so, what's the biggest things that you're thinking about these days? Like, what do you care about? Scaling. So what's going on?
So when I was so burnt out, just emotionally, physically, just from when I left in 2010.
Oh, right from the
So
beginning.
I had gone back to school in the middle of this and got my MBA and just was in a culture. This was a big company now. And I loved the people I supported locally, but the people I reported into in another state were just assholes. And just, I remember one day one of my bosses, because I had like 5 in a 5-year period, calls me into his office and he starts yelling at me. And I look around and I'm like, who the fuck are you talking to? Like, my dad doesn't talk to me like that. My husband doesn't talk to me like that. You're not going to talk to me like that. I'm going to be in my office, and when you can be professional, come see me. And it just became like this really contentious thing. And I was traveling a lot. My kids were young and it sucked. Yep. So when I left, I was just like focused on making up my salary and like spending time with my kids.
Right.
And I feel like I've been putting along.
Balance it? Yep.
Absolutely. So for the first 5 years, I was really just like happy to be able to pay my bills and wasn't really worried. Yeah.
Yep.
And in the last 3, now I'm like, okay, let's go. My kids, my youngest is 15, Layla, and Joey's 16, and I'm
the big boys and girls now.
Yes. And my husband is great, and he's a better parent, so I can leave them with him. Yep. I've got a big family support system, so yeah, it works. And
you can
now
double down.
I feel like, I've been, and now I'm ready to do this.
And how many employees do you have?
15.
Yeah, it's a great time to scale.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, let's keep going. So back to transitions, which is what we've been talking about. You're in the midst of a really interesting one. Just filling everybody who's listening, you actually worked, right, on a project, right? You were in school. That's how you were.
So I was in Steve's entrepreneurship program.
Yep.
Called the Sheetz Fellows program. It's like an entrepreneurial leadership program.
Under the secondary, a different campus within the Penn State ecosystem, right?
Penn State Altoona.
Yep. And so you worked on it. Oh, so it was his school, his framework, his class,
program,
his program.
Yeah.
And so you went from that. You told me about the flipping with the apartments and mom and like the video game stuff. I'm just filling everybody in. Then you are you done with school and you go home to start rebranding and like kind of marketing and helping out with your dad's thing? Or?
So I spent about, I think it's like 5 or 6 months, and I worked under this lady named Colleen DeVoris.
That's right, I remember.
And she helped with the Sheetz rebranding in the early 2000s.
That's right.
So I went and I worked for her for about 5 to 6 months, like I said. And it got to a point to where, I just want to take a next step, grow, as a person.
And you went to work for her from a branding, marketing kind of standpoint.
Yeah, social.
But it was more traditional, and you were supposed to bring some of the social, digital aspects.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
And then you decide 6 months in, you're like, you know what? I'm going to go do this and execute against my dad's rebranding of his place.
Yes, correct.
And you did that for 2 years.
Yeah.
And so back to transitions. You go and work for somebody, then you transition to do it for your family business, where I assume you had a lot more autonomy. Mm-hmm. How long have you been into this hunt and fish project?
This would be my 3rd week.
Right. So even in the first 15, 17, 21 days, what's the biggest transition from doing it in a place where you're like, oh, fuck you, Dad, I'm doing this, to, oh, shit, I've got somebody who's like, isn't my dad, who I can just yell at or just take a ton. Like, this is almost the reverse. You are doing something super interesting and thoughtful, in my opinion. So I'm fascinated by it. Everyone's talking about, I want to go do my own thing, and not that it was your own thing, but I'm sure you have a hell of a lot more autonomy. You're now making a decision. Wait a minute, I want to go to, and I assume in your head, maybe bigger leagues, New York City, but not having the autonomy. You're going almost weirdly the reverse. Mm-hmm. What's the first jump in the pool, first 3 weeks kind of feeling? Tell the truth.
It's a little different.
It's important.
Yeah, it's a little different
because I won't let Eitan fire you, and I want to bring value for everybody who's watching and listening.
It's different because there's a checks and balances system now, right? So, learning to work.
Right. When you screwed up before, you can make pretend there wasn't a screw up,
right,
and just get away with it in a family business.
Yeah.
But with this, you can't do that.
You can't.
Yeah.
Not at all.
No, but that's true, right?
Yeah, it is true. You can kind of hide behind the curtain when you're kind of.
And I'll tell it as a kid who was in a family business that had carte blanche. I would always yell at my dad back, not about the micro loss, which I had plenty of. It was the macro win. Anytime he'd be like, why did we spend $4,000 on those coupons? We didn't get anything. I'm like, Dad, at the end of the year, you are more than welcome to kick me out of this place, but let's look at it as a whole, not this week in May. And the truth is, and I want to give him a lot of credit, he didn't have a whole lot of that energy. It was more of just a look of like, you know, like, why did we waste money? You know, you would have that in a family business. Here, you've got a new boss. You've got to like prove yourself, right?
100%.
And what are you most excited about in the first 3 weeks?
I think just being immersed in a totally different type of culture. New York City, you know, the speed, being around people who have, you know, a lifestyle is kind of like more than where I'm from, I guess you would say.
You mean the fellow employees and the characters
just being connected with
spending money on dumb shit after hours.
Yeah, 100%.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. What is the calibration of the New York speed so far? Has it been super fast? Are you addicted to it? Is it like holy shit?
I love it. I was always like on the go back home, right? And now it's just like I'm on the go, but I'm just like I'm in the city, right? It's not just like
you're running at the same speed as the thing. Let's go back around. This is gonna be a lot of fun. I'm gonna take it into a different place real quick, and then we'll keep going. I want to know what you're obsessed with right now. And I don't mean in the context of everything we just talked about, like you're pumped about some new Excel formula that's helping you scared, I'm sure. What are you just excited about that's happening in culture? Whether it's a TV show, whether it's a new product that you use in the bathroom, whether it's, you know, an experience you had. What I love is the zeitgeist. You know, what I loved, sir, listening to you talk, I'm like, oh, I know why he was successful. If you actually are consumer-centric, you will always win. The only reason I get to sit here and people think I've got one pitch. I always say I'm Mariano Rivera. I got one pitch. I don't care about my feelings. I'm pure humility to the end consumer. I grew up with lemonade stands, baseball card shows, and a liquor store. I've been retail for my whole life. All I know is watching the eyes, watching the reactions, using my intuition to what felt good to the other person. The market is my king, lord, religion, nothing else. So I always love this question because I think, you know, I always think that's what I'm trying to pay attention to. Why are people wearing rips in their jeans again like they were in the 80s? Why are long hair back? Haircuts, styles, foods, like systems, all that stuff. I love all that stuff. So that's what I love, and that's what I caught when you said I had to listen to the customers and my employees. You're absolutely right. That's where all the answers are. They're not in Bain and McKinsey's fancy decks from Harvard. They're in the trenches. They always will be. But on that same kick, the reason I made that statement was, one, I wanted to pay you a compliment because I really loved you saying that. Two, it's about listening. So what are you listening to now, or what are you seeing? What are you obsessed by? Let's start with you. What's the most interesting thing going on?
That's tough. I think for me, it's just like, not even to be selfish, but just like my life right now, because everything in my life has changed drastically in the past 2 months. Yeah. So just trying to like get acclimated to like where I used to be and like where I'm at now, and just like being. Are you just enjoying it? Yeah, it's like I wake up every day. I'm happy. Like I'm passionate. Like the action. Yes, 100%. I love it.
I am obsessed with, besides your content, is.
Thank you.
A form of intermittent fasting called 4-3, where you eat 4 days a week and fast 3 days a week for 36 hours.
Okay, so this is super interesting because I don't know what this is, but I'm going to keep asking you. The reason I apologize for jumping in is I'm actively fasting today. This is the third week in a row. I used to fast a lot, 1 day a week. A couple years ago when I really lost my weight, it really worked. The last 18 months, I've been far more focused on flexibility, soft tissue work, a little muscle gain, which has been amazing. Yeah. But I gained enough weight where like just, you know, when I don't care about the weight. Yeah, I just don't, I want to feel nice in my clothes. I just want to feel great. And so I was like, okay, if I can just get 7 to 11 off real fat, you know, and the thing that works for me is fasting. But for me, I would fast for a full day, which usually meant I wouldn't eat for about 36 hours.
Include the sleep.
But 3 days a week? Explain it to me real quick.
So I do Sundays, Tuesdays, Thursdays.
So Sunday you don't eat?
So Saturday night, 10 p.m. on Saturday.
You eat for real?
So Saturday I would eat for real. I would stop eating at 10. Okay. And then Monday, so today, so I fasted yesterday. Today I would break my fast at 10 a.m.
Okay.
So you have the sleep on both nights as part of, but interesting. Yep. And the reason why I was doing the intermittent fasting like that everyone else is doing for a while, which is like the 16-8 where you eat like during an 8-hour window. So like 11 to whatever. But
that's like a fake fast.
And
I feel like you have to go past 20, like you have to go a full 24 hours for it to really matter, in my opinion.
I agree. And it's easier.
Windows, that's just like normal life. People eat too much.
Right.
By the way, when you were in your career, were you an eater during the day or no?
During the day?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I could run it off.
And you also had food all around you. It's really funny.
You forget to eat.
It's so hard.
Actually, what's really ironic, 4 years ago when I started trying to lose weight, was the first time in my life that I ever ate lunch.
That's what I'm saying.
My big thing where I was getting caught was no breakfast, no lunch, but I would eat like a machine at dinner, and it would always be like 9 p.m. and I would eat like 4,000 calories. But my body is it's so easy for me to fast if I can get over the dinner hump, because having breakfast and lunch is not natural to me because of retail.
Yeah, so I think it's the same thing. And
how long you been doing it?
This is like my third or fourth week.
You
maybe
feel
fourth week.
Great, right?
I feel great, and I don't mind the fasting. The other thing is with traveling, like it's hard. You can't prep, blah, blah, blah. So I'm just like, no, this is so much easier to implement for me because I don't want to be counting my calories and I'm still trying to eat well in those days.
Who got you on? A piece of content?
So yeah, a piece of content. I don't know what I was watching, but there's a lady named Sumaya Kazi who was on the Today Show or something, and they interviewed her about this.
And boom.
And she had like a $100 little plan, and I downloaded it just to
good for you.
Have something.
I love it.
To be accountable with.
Sir?
Yes.
What are you obsessed with right now?
Well, I'm obsessed with watching the next generations of our business. So when I started, we had 8 employees. 5 of us were family members, and we had this business. Today, we have 19,000 employees.
With 18,000 family members?
And there's 101 descendants of our parents.
That's amazing, man.
And there's 15 working. So now I'm kind of the last of the first generation. Now we're second and third. And I'm watching this electric car coming, and I'm watching our gas business. And I'm looking at the future and saying, this gas business is slowly going away. And what are these next generations going to do here? Because they're dealing with it right now in terms of...
Do you think they have the DNA that your dad and you and your brother had, where you were willing to put yourself out of business in the short term?
I think we do. That's our vision. To put Sheetz as we know it today out of business. Always. That's our vision. But I'm watching the next generations, and I'm still there, so I can feel it with them, and I nudge them a little bit,
And how do they take the nudge? Do they take it as Yoda, as like wise old Yoda, or do they take it as like, get the fuck out of here, you don't know what you're talking about?
I think they take it. I think they tell me one thing, and
they tell you Yoda,
and they're really thinking, get the fuck out of here. I think that's what they're thinking.
Who do you think you have the most leverage with of the family members internally, and what's her or his position?
Well, I don't know leverage with, but
when I say leverage, I mean there is that wisdom, respect, and you can see she or he.
But I'm starting to feel it with the second and third generation, and there are some that are so damn sharp, it's unbelievable. I knew they were sharp, but do they have that feeling that says, that competitive spirit that says we got to make it? And then
they have a level of entitlement that you and I didn't grow up with, and that's not their fault. That's just their reality.
Some of it's timing too. Some of them think they want to run away from this gas business, And I'm like, you can't run away from it. When we sign this lease for 25 years or whatever it is, we're signing it based on this gas volume and profits. It's not going away tomorrow. And then they say to me, one of them said to me, you've got your head in the sand. I said, no, I don't have my head in the sand. I'm just trying to make sure we get the timing right here, of transitioning without gas.
So you just said something really, really important that I'm going to harp on for everybody listening, who a lot of you are trying to figure me out. And I keep saying, watch what I do, not what I say. And more importantly, I do break this down, but for some reason, people don't hear it. I always talk about, a lot of people want to give me credit for predicting the future, and I'm always like, I'm not Nostradamus. I don't predict. I'm just good at what's already happened. You're talking about a very important thing that you and I clearly share, and I had a funny feeling just on the narrative that we would have some similarities, but as I'm listening, it's maybe even further than I thought. I'm a humongous believer in not overly respecting the past, but not being too ideological about the future. And I almost see everybody caught in one of the two, and I'm listening to you and I'm like, oh shit, he's not. He's more like me, which is, he's not head in the sand, loved what got him here. I've just been listening to your words. But in my business, everyone's like, Gary, VR, AR, even voice that I'm very passionate about with Alexa. If you noticed, watch what I do, not what I say. I established it's coming, but I've been unbelievably quiet for the last 6 months, mainly because the progress is slow and I'm not excited about it. I couldn't agree more. You have people come in, they want to make their, and this is not what you're saying, but for everybody listening, I'm watching a lot of people come into businesses, whether kids or whether executives, and they want to make their mark. And the way they think they can make their mark is by betting on the future and then looking right. The problem is sometimes it takes longer than you think. The problem is sometimes you give up something that's valuable. Yes, do I think electronic cars? Sure. I also think self-driving cars are going to be a very important variable, because then you can make B2B deals, not with individuals. If there's only 4 companies that control all the cars, well, then they don't need the middleman of the gas station. It can be macro deals with Exxon or Shell or whoever. Nonetheless, we all know those things are coming, but I think what your experience and my experience, look, in 1998, when I took over operations for my dad's business, 2 years after I launched WineLibrary.com e-commerce, I thought by the year 2000, everybody's gonna be buying wine from me on the internet, and I've got to go crazy. Now, it worked out for me because I was right about the macro. So betting the farm with frantic pace on the internet was good. But if I was a VC or had a big company, not a small company that didn't have money, I would have definitely overinvested. We just didn't have any money. So I just invested we didn't have a credit line, we weren't funded, we weren't a big company. So if I was running VaynerMedia, as a 22-year-old, I would have wasted a lot of money. I just didn't have the luxury of not having is very powerful. I think you're absolutely right. Like, plenty of cars are going to go into gas stations in 4 years. Lots of them.
Absolutely.
It's just, there's nothing that's happened yet that would make me think that's not the case.
No, I mean, if I did, I wouldn't be signing 20, 25-year leases because
look,
it's
20, 25 years, like who knows, right? Like that's a ways. But to your point,
I agree.
Start ripping out gas stations would be insanity.
Yep.
It might be I might with you, if we were like the two people, I'd be like, hey, do we want to completely build a model 25 years from today on gas stations? That's an interesting debate.
Correct.
Ripping out gas stations would be insanity.
And I think that you have to look back at history as well. The first 20 years we spent without gasoline. We didn't have gasoline. Then all of a sudden you build this dependency on gasoline.
Well, of course.
But going forward, we don't have to be a gas station. We have to look at our core competencies.
Yes.
We can operate in 6 states. We know how, obviously, to create a culture and an atmosphere where people want to thrive. And you have to look at the core competencies and say, what else can we do? We can run restaurants. We can run car wash. We can run, what are the core competencies? Think outside of the convenience store business. What else can we run?
Or in the same way that the biggest transition the company ever really made was, you didn't go into full detail, but there was a transition at some point of supplying dairy in one form and then deciding to be the retailer of it, right?
Exactly.
Look, I mean, I would argue that your company has permission to be the transportation infrastructure in some shape or form. Your company absolutely could have been the people that invented the electronic scooters that we see in California. You could. Yeah. You could. I mean, you absolutely could, and I think Nintendo started as a playing card company. The biggest movies in Hollywood are made from something that started off as a comic book company, superhero movies, right? So I do think when you take, to your point, the energy, it's about finding new containers and merchandising them.
Right. And, we go outside, like we spent 3 days in Seattle last month. We got to visit Amazon. We get to visit, one of the fulfillment
stores
centers
that don't have any cashier. I get it.
We went into the store. They're going to open 3,000 of them in the next 3 years.
Yeah. Who wants to go into a store where you have to waste 4 minutes for a cashier when you can just grab and go?
Exactly. Then we get to meet with the innovation officer at Starbucks, who has 60 people working with her. And so we're out there just kind of looking. And Carnegie Mellon we spent 3 days with last month. We're just constantly out there looking. But I see that in the next generation too, which I'm happy with.
And so where are you spending your physical time? Are you still...
Well, I've got the Sheetz Fellows, so I teach 12 times a semester. I mentor some of the students. I got the family council we just met the other day. We studied businesses that failed as well as those family businesses that survived. And one of the biggest reasons they fail is that the family ceases to get along.
That's right.
So we've got 101 family members, 15 work. As you go in time, the bigger percentage doesn't work but owns stock, and they want to sell out. I want cash. And then you got this inner group saying that works there, I want to hold on. And that's the constant battle. So as a Sheetz family council and the head of it, I'm trying to keep the family together. So we do a retreat, we get together Thanksgiving, get together Christmas, and we're together all the time. And I'm trying to hold us together, because for that family, we want to be a privately held family business. That's why we wrote that book.
Let me ask you a question.
Yep.
You went through this important transition of 5 years, right? From
Sure.
going from an operator to a leader, right?
That's correct.
I have to assume, like, I don't know anything, and I already know that you're a disproportionate glue to this ambition. I assume you at this point are giving a lot of thought to who becomes the glue when you decide not to be the glue. Is that where you're spending a lot of time thinking too?
Well, some of it. I mean,
can multiple people be the glue? Because I've been thinking a lot about that too.
Well, when my brother was CEO, we had a rule. We actually established that one person, one family member, would be the last one to say yes. One decision maker.
No
he
two
passed
cooks
it
in
to
the
me.
kitchen.
Then he passed it to to my nephew. But the next one came along and said, I'm not sure I'm comfortable with that. So now we have three. It's me, it's my two nephews, there's three of us.
Interesting.
So when I phase out, in 2 years off of kind of the family council. The other two have to agree. We have to agree on who this third person
Interesting.
is. Yeah.
Very cool.
So it was 1, 1, 1, and then the next one said, I'm not comfortable with one making all this decision. So there's three. So now we'll decide which one's the next.
What else is going on in your world? What else do you want entrepreneurs, executives, other people to know, think, or what questions you have, or what do we want to jam on?
So I'm focused the scaling part on really. We have been pivoting from like a pure consulting company to where we supported a bunch of technology companies privately. We're trying to get into the government business as well as the federal government, providing IT services. And so now we're building out this IT plus model, which we haven't finalized yet, but basically, building on what you guys were just talking about, this whole digital transformation that every company has to be really thinking about. How do you do business, and how are you using technology to get that business done?
Oh my God! It's like, I always tell people it's like electricity,
and they're failing.
When electricity first came around, there was businesses.
Yep.
And if you were not a business that's decided electricity was a good idea, you probably lost over time. Yep. That was obvious because it was as extreme as like dark and the sun went down and your business had to close to having, right? But I don't think people understand how being fully digital, like in your core, is a requirement.
And an enabler of growth,
100,000%.
right? They're still looking at it like IT is the cost center. That's the support mechanism.
Defense versus offense.
Right.
Yep.
Absolutely. So we've built a small development factory where people can outsource their development needs. So if they have, constraints on the IT folks in-house.
Can I ask you a left field question?
Yes.
It's never, we've talked about this privately, and I think it can bring value to people. How much are you thinking about, like, being a successful entrepreneur is an incredible accomplishment. I think people just think that you slap it on your body. You guys know my spiel. I'm very worried that people think it's easy.
No.
And the internet has made it easier, no question. The COGS are so different, cost of goods.
Yep.
Like, it doesn't cost $1 million to build a fucking store.
Right.
Like, you needed money for the bricks and the wood and whatever the first, it still needed money. There wasn't like, I'm gonna be on Instagram all day for a year, and that's gonna give me leverage, and I can actually on spec print these t-shirts before I get I'm gonna say I have the t-shirts, but I don't. I'm gonna take their money. Then I'm going to, you can do things now. I mean, I would have never graduated high school. But, at the same token that entrepreneurship's on this pedestal, what I am super passionate about is what the internet has done is we can now see entrepreneurs in all shapes and sizes. Mm-hmm. And you know how passionate I am about that.
Yes.
You are a successful female minority entrepreneur. You're also smart. So I want to ask you this question selfishly because I'm curious what's going through your mind. Are you being affected by knowing that you sit in a very strong leverage point now as an individual? And are you affected by, minority women DMing you or emailing you if they find out about you? Like, how much are you thinking about, like, wow, this is an interesting era for what I'm doing. I've gone through the chapter of now doing it successfully for a long enough period of time that even the toughest filters will be like, no, you are one.
Yeah.
Are you thinking about that? And then do you get into the world of like, wait a minute, all these years where it was potentially, or not potentially, when it was a disadvantage, could I be going into an era where it's an advantage? How do I take advantage of that?
Right.
Like, how are you thinking about this moment in time that is clearly must be interesting to see through? I'm seeing it through my eyes, which are different than yours.
Right.
What do you think about all that?
So I think throughout my life, I've always been like you. I think like most entrepreneurs in this kind of advisory position with my family, with my friends, with colleagues. And so I've done a lot of counseling, a lot of free shit for people for years, just because I could, because I feel like if I know something, I'm not going to not tell you because I'm supposed to charge you for it. I think right now, no, my head is like, I'm 100% down, focused on like building this company.
Good for you.
And whatever comes along the way, I'm open to, but I've never been focused on like what I look like or who I am. I'm just like, no, I'm going to fucking get it done.
But what about speaking and books and being on CNBC? Like, those are the things that are going to start populating through your mind or brought to you without you. I'm bringing it to you right now.
Yeah. I would be open to it. It's not my focus right now, but yep. I would totally be.
And you're aware that that's in the air-ish.
Yes.
Cool. What do you think? How are you thinking about this without, saying my master plan is to work there for a year and then bounce with getting mad? Like, don't worry, I'll protect you. Like, how are you thinking about this chapter? Like, let me go prove it in the big leagues and then decide what I feel like?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much my plan. I spent, the past 2 years really focused on proof of concept, right? Can I actually do something and make it successful? Not that my dad's restaurant wasn't successful, but like, build it up. Because, we increased sales by 40% in the past 2 years. He's on track to make $1 million this year, which he's never hit.
Yeah,
so
it's a special number when you hit it.
Yeah, so
100%.
That's one of his goals that he's always wanted to do and to achieve. So like,
so now you want to see, can I do that again in a different way?
Yeah, for somebody else.
And then what do you intuitively, like if you had a guess, what then happens? Do you build an agency around that skill set, or do you actually build a restaurant hospitality business with that being your secret sauce? Do you know?
I'm torn. And
as both. You should be.
I'm torn because
those are two smart things to debate.
I grew up in the industry. I know it. Second nature to me. But
which, by the way, I'm sure both of us will say, and even though you did this from such a young age, such a big advantage that people run away from. Like when you know something that cold, it's a competitive advantage.
Yeah. So like, but also like I know things from a branding, marketing perspective that can help, right?
Sure.
Other businesses, not just only restaurants or bars.
I got it.
So just trying to figure out where I want to take it. Right now I got a group of creatives. So we have this like little group and we do like side projects right now.
Yeah, that's right. I remember you telling me over dinner, you've got different creative directors or a copywriter or designer that you've picked up along the way, and you got a little kind of like freelance crew, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So just like figuring out that, and then like kind of like being the leader of the crew and
while
just
you're holding down a job that gives you maybe less flexibility.
Yeah. So just learning on the fly for real. But I think for me right now, just solely focused on helping Eitan improve everything he has going on.
What parting shots or questions do we have as we wrap up here, sir?
Oh, I don't know about parting shots. It hit me though that in 1969 when I come out of college, the first year we did $1 million, and then 1999 we did $1 billion, and then this year we're over $7 billion. You look back and say, wait a minute.
By the way, just for everybody else, $1 million in 1969 was like $7 billion.
Right.
No, it's really and privately held. I mean, that's just
we've laid it out to be a privately held family business. As my brothers and I say, we're the last of the first generation.
Educate the kids at home.
Yep.
We're talking about top line revenue numbers.
Right. Yes, top line.
So, for example, VaynerMedia this year and the VaynerX family, because I own some publishing house, I'm super proud that we'll be close to 200 million.
Correct.
Yet, we made no money. and I didn't lose money. I don't have VCs. I don't have credit. I'm doing it because I'm reinvesting.
Absolutely.
Talk to everybody at home. You know, we heard the 1 million, the billion, the 7 billion. For as much as you can remember, and I have a funny feeling you're going to remember, were you guys the kind of operators and family that wanted to always have profit? Like in the lexicon of like, as long as my salary's paid and we can eat, put every dollar back into business because we can open another store. When did the transition, because there's no way you got to this if you didn't, in the early days, invest everything back.
Yeah, see, this is what I tell the students. I sat on a bank board and on the loan committee, and we learned to identify the people who were running a lifestyle business. They ran a lifestyle business. They were not putting it in. My brother did not increase his lifestyle in those early days. Even when we hit that million, we were pushing vendors to put in all the shelving for free, to put in the equipment for free. We were pushing everybody.
Yep.
And we were not buying buildings or renting them because our core competency was running these stores, not in real estate.
Did you ever get into real estate?
Not in a big
heavy
way.
in the scale.
No.
Compared to the scale that you are,
No.
you guys understood your core competency.
Yeah, we make money because we know the damn business. We don't know in real estate.
Mister, I'll tell you, I would argue that not pushing my dad loved the thought of real estate.
Yep.
And we spent way too much money building this superstore in New Jersey that I intuitively but I wasn't strong enough. So I don't want to, like, I should have pushed harder to say, Dad, we're awesome at running wine and liquor stores. Forget about the ideology of being your own landlord. Yes. All that money that we are about to tie up, I could open up 7 goddamn stores and dominate it.
Exactly.
And you understood it.
Yeah, that's what we did. And the bank wouldn't give us money. You talk about not making money. We didn't make money.
There's no VCs like me running around running dumb checks. Oh. Money was tough.
Money was so hard. We pushed everybody.
So back to my question. Were the first 10, 15 years unbelievably dollars back into the system? And was there a transition where it became more about maybe kicking a little bit more profit to appreciate some of the fruits of the labor?
The bank wanted us to open 1 store a year. We were hungry. We wanted stores. So I just kept asking, how do I get money? In 1972, I found out they said, pay your suppliers slower. You know, pay them in 45 days. We went from 7 to 14 stores in 1 year. We almost didn't make it. I mean, we were bending, we were on bended knees for the bank, you know, and fortunately the banker gave me money. He gave us money, or we'd have been in trouble. But we went from 7 to 14, really taught us a lesson. We almost did not make it through
to number 15.
But I always claim I got my master's and my doctorate that year, what we learned. But we didn't have a lot of money.
I get it.
It's later on when you start spending some money.
I get it. Final thoughts?
Thank you for having me. This is great. Appreciate it. I know you consume the content. Anything lately that's caught your eye, or? I always love getting that perspective. So I was watching a bunch of it last night in my room. I think that something you guys were talking about here that
hit you.
Yeah, it's just like the leadership aspect. Most companies' leadership sucks
because they're driven by money.
They're
or
building their fiefdom.
Yeah, 100%. Well, there's a difference between leadership. Like him and I and you have the luxury right now of being the last line of defense.
Right.
So there's a difference between leadership and leaders. Me, I am so different than my 9 C-suite executives. You couldn't even compare us. Not half of them, but like I watch them try to build up moats to protect themselves.
Right.
And I have empathy for that. It gets scary when you're a top 5, top 10 employee. You make a lot of money.
Right.
Especially if you have me as a boss. And I already have a funny feeling if you actually like your CEO and he's like, you're doing well and you like it, well, now you're even double scared to lose that job because you're like, yeah, I could probably make that money somewhere else, but not as happily. So I've watched people around me even be more aggressive to protect themselves because they're like, oh shit, this is the golden goose. This is money and nice. Like, fuck, I don't want to lose this.
Right.
But I have empathy for that. And to your point, leadership a lot of times is different than the final leader.
Yeah.
And they often are flawed because their job is to keep everybody underneath them to not take their spot.
Right. And I think most cultures just don't do a good job of figuring out how to navigate that And my husband's an educator, is a teacher and a principal, and I always envied him because to him it was all about the kids. Is it good for the kids? If it's not good for the kids, then fuck you, we're not doing it. And I feel like in business,
it's actually there is that.
There is that, and you've talked about it a lot. But I'm saying it's just
not what most people do.
No, it's not.
But no question, I'm sure of it.
Oh, 100%.
That's how they want.
Hearing what
the customer.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. The customer doesn't give a shit that you make all your money on cows or oil.
Right.
They're the customer.
Right.
They're going to live their lives. And if you don't kill yourself to win for them, it's game over.
Right.
I don't give a crap when social media disappears. Could care less. Can't wait. So that's been on your mind.
Yes.
Cool. Final thoughts, brother?
Just first, like, thank you for everything you've done for me, you know, from being in school to here and coming here and having this conversation. Just thank you. Like, I really do appreciate you. And then 2, I got a piece of art for you back here.
Oh, wow, that looks really nice.
Yeah. And
Who made that?
We did my buddy graphed on me.
Super nice.
And then we did a little video to that too. It's on my Instagram.
Yes.
If you want to check that out.
I do.
My man's Kenny video. He did the video work.
More than happy to look at it. It's amazing.
Yeah, so we did something just
super nice.
based off of your clouds and dirt concept.
I love it. I can't wait to
yeah.
look at it. All right, I will. Everybody listening at home, I hope you got value out of this. If you're super bright, I think you could make the connection points that happened here. I thought it was super rad. I really enjoyed this. I appreciate you 3. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank
Yeah, thank you.
Keep watching.